Martin Luther King's death was either orchestrated or done so that people would be sidetracked and distracted by history, his story, and also to make people believe that continuing to follow his model could gain blacks power or freedom. We have been led to believe that we have gained our so-called freedom by certain individuals putting themselves out on the front line, when in reality things were planned to happen the way that they happened. A scientific experiment was conducted with a few individuals in an environment similar to that of which humans function in today. The scientists determined that most people would not use their little bit of freedom to their advantage. On top of miseducating us, the system has also made harmful things more convenient than beneficial things. Long story short, this little bit of freedom that we do have won't amount to anything if people are gravitating towards the harmful things that life, as we know it, has to offer. The real purpose of sewage is to collect the toxic waste of humans, but this is not any ordinary waste. It's toxic waste because the people are toxic, and the substances in the food that people are eating are a threat to the environment. But that's only if everyone had a bowel movement or urinated on the ground. I didn't mention all of the illegal drugs, skincare products, and the air that we breathe. But all of this too will be eliminated as waste byproduct. In countries where people eat and consume naturally, they don't require a sewer system. Only the countries where large numbers of processed people live. So sewers are also a part of keeping the environment safe. Without them, we could not eat the stuff that we eat to slowly kill ourselves with without slowly killing off our surrounding environment. Vehicle parts, transmission fluid, gasoline, oil, etc. all have a longer shelf life than that of food. People have to eat every day. And the less active people are, the less food will be consumed. If you take two kids that are the same height, weight, and age, then feed them the same amount of food and assign them to two different activities. One play basketball and the other play video games. The kid who played basketball will be ready to eat before the kid that played video games. So the use of transportation has a connection to the amount of food that we have access to and how much food is supplied. An increase in the demand for food will put a strain on the food supply that's somewhat in troubled waters already. So like I said, it's partially about keeping a person from being physically active. Oral sex and masturbation is more energy efficient than sexual intercourse. Outside of land, people are the ultimate resource. Going green isn't exactly about saving us money. It's to keep the economy alive so that the system can stay in harmony with the laws of nature as much as possible. And that's a little bit of my take on the Going Green movement. It takes more coordination, more coordinated operations, more manpower, more land space, more water to feed a raw vegan city than it does to feed a city full of processed people. If you can imagine one prison with 1,200 inmates, with 100 men dormitories, each dorm has 2 televisions, 2 chessboards, 2 sets of dominoes, 2 mop buckets, 1 mop, 1 broom, paint on the walls of 1 room, 5 sinks, 5 toilets, 4 tables, just to name a few of the resources in prison. All of these resources are shared by 100 men in each dorm. If we were to free all 1,200 of the inmates, each one will require their own land space and the above resources that I just mentioned. So, it is more resourceful to accommodate a prison population and to sustain a prison population than it is to do so with a so-called free city population. It's just simple mathematics. Less stores, less police officers, less landscaping crews, less doctors, less hospitals, less cooking and eating utensils, less basketball courts, less exercise equipment, less trees having to be cut, less libraries, less dumpsters, less washaterias, less guns, less pepper spray, less light bulbs. And that's just to name a few of the resources that will be conserved just from creating large prison populations alone. There are more drug dealers on the street corners than there are drug lords. That's the reason why they choose to go after the street pushers, because it's more them to fill the prisons. The prisons are necessary for the system to remain environmental friendly. So, are there any objections? Also, when a male and female gets married, it's more resourceful and it helps to sustain the system. The couple shares land space, they share the home, they share the washer and dryer, they share the stove and refrigerator, they share the toilet and bathtub, they share the carpet, paint on the walls, the pictures, the bed. You should get the picture by now. So marriage also helps to sustain the system. People also gather at churches, movie theaters, clubs, bars, sporting events, concerts, friends' houses, gambling casinos. This also helps to conserve energy. Is the system fair, and does it offer the same benefits that nature's system offers as far as physical health, mental health, spiritual health, and to be able to be surrounded by non-aggressive and compassionate people?
If we stop eating these things, they would have to try a new tactic to control the population, right? So, and people that's on YouTube, if you're not looking for consciousness, you're not going to find it actually. You're not going to recognize it because you're stuck in your ways. And if you don't think you're at war, you're not going to have a reason to fight. So that's, the enemy deceives you in that way. He makes you think that it's nothing wrong, so therefore you don't even try to look for a solution to get out of the hellhole that you're not even aware that you're in. But, consciousness is the key, man. You gotta wake up, man. You gotta start living. You gotta get back to the animal, primitive roots, you know what I'm saying? Things that really make the world go round, you know what I'm saying? But we're gonna get to this. We're gonna get to the bottom of this. We're gonna find a solution. I know there's a lot of conscious people out there that's aware of what's going on, and they're trying to put in efforts to make things better.
People have been conditioned to anticipate certain conditions that don't have to be experienced. I'm particularly talking about disease. Contrary to what we have been taught, diseases are not normal. They're not a normal part of life.
If schools taught us how to eat wrong, how could we rely on anything else that they teach us? Even if schools were to create healthier menus to improve the child's eating habits, it is likely that the child's diet would be negatively impacted by their parents who most likely went to school at a time when school cafeterias didn't offer any fresh fruits or raw vegetables and only served foods that contributed to disease and the same aggression that schools don't approve of. There's an undeniably strong relationship between what we eat, drink, breathe, absorb through our skins, look at, and listen to, and our behavior. Our behavior patterns are affected by these 6 things. If you eat better, you will live better, and there's plenty of evidence-based research to prove it. You have the power to decide, and you don't have to continue being a slave to a lifestyle that is doing lots of bad to your body and little good, if any. In order to make the comparison between 2 different diets, you must experience them for yourself, and do you have that much discipline to do so? The reality is that everyone isn't going to be saved from miseducation. So my suggestion would be to connect with like-minded individuals to create an infrastructure that can positively guide people into the right direction. Nothing happens overnight, so patience is the key ingredient for our success. With discipline and determination, operations should be successful. Our most powerful weapon is our minds. Me and others like myself can guarantee a more divinely arranged experience on this planet. The main key to tapping into the knowledge of how God wants us to live is to know thyself. The struggle can and will take you under if you are unaware of what it takes to properly maneuver in it. Quitting only leads you back to the beginning. If you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. The closer that we get to nature, the better off that we'll be. Most are being defeated by the minds of the enemies, so there's no need for the enemy to use any physical attacks.
The only way that I could see white folks as being my enemy is if they had something to do with me being my own worst enemy, because no one is doing nothing to me, man. I'm doing all this shit to myself. See what I'm saying? That's what y'all gotta realize. These white folks ain't doing nothing to y'all, man. What y'all doing this shit to yourself. Putting your own damn self in this position. So there can't be any unity without trust. There can't be any black power without the proper nutrition. I would like to know, what would going out, burning buildings and killing and hurting white folks do other than getting us a trip to prison, death row, the hospital, or the graveyard? There's a saying that says, keep your enemies close. Well, it don't get any closer than making a person their own worst enemy. So people are looking for the enemy on the outside, when the enemy has been under their nose the whole time. Praying that God will solve the problems that you're actually able to solve yourself. I pray with actions. Action speaks louder than words. My actions to God is the way that I praise and worship my God, my Creator. I don't have to get on my knees and pray. I just act, take care of myself, take care of my situations and circumstances, better myself, help better the human race, you know what I'm saying? What could satisfy the Creator more? There has to be a mass movement aimed at the schools. They may be teaching our kids some useful things and some things that they won't need once we reestablish our identities. But the school diet is totally useless and very harmful. These kids are spending more time in schools than they do with their parents. So, who should be the blame for the kids being overweight? I don't claim to have all the answers for black people's problems. But if you view my channel and the other informative channels that I have suggested on my page, it would be an enlightening experience. My kids are going through the same situations that my generation went through, but the difference is that people have become
a little bit more conscious of how the enemy attacks. To first know that you are at war is the first step to defending yourself. Although our enemies have given us convenient access to items that are not healthy, it still boils down to our decisions to purchase and use these items. You can accept the fact that you have been taught wrong and now possess the problem of knowingly and unknowingly engaging in self-destructive behavior and gravitate towards the information that will help you to overcome the condition, or stay in denial and continue your self-destructive ways only to become another casualty in this war. In this reality, you must always remember that the harmful things will always outnumber the beneficial things, and that goes for people, food, and information. Prisons claim that inmates are going to make wine, that they are given fruit, but they are given access to things that are far more harmful than wine, but these things still remain accessible to the inmates. Something is wrong with that picture, isn't it?
Let me start by saying that I hate canned vegetables, and if that's what you're eating, I can see why you're not motivated to go vegan. The stages of eating meat are: I'm going to stop eating pork, I'm going to stop eating red meat, I'm going to stop eating processed meats, I'm going to stop frying my meats, and I will only bake or use the barbecue pit or George Foreman grill or boil them. Then finally you say, I'm only eating skinless chicken, fish, and skinless turkey. And anyone who eats meat can expect to go down these stages, go down this path. Anyone who eats meat. And you also have the stages of drinking beverages. People drink all types of concoctions, and few end up realizing that water is all that they really need. The rest of your hydration requirements can be met by eating raw plant foods. That means raw fruit, raw vegetables, uncooked, so that the nutrients and enzymes can stay intact. Then you have people putting up the argument asking how could it be bad for you when they're selling in their stores. Well, hey, stores sell cigarettes and alcohol. I've also noticed how some stores in my neck of the woods give free taste samples of meat every so often. That's another story. Anyway, about the stages of eating meat, you can do like I did, quit while you're ahead, or continue your journey. It's even harder to convince the people out there that's smoking weed, because once they get the munchies, they will eat anything. Then one last thing to think about. Have you ever heard of a human living off of just meat alone? Have you ever heard of a human being just living off of eating meat alone? But it is possible for a human to sustain himself by eating raw plant foods and nothing else. Google raw plant foods for those that don't know what that is. People don't realize that it's not the meat that they like the taste of, it's the seasonings. And what are seasonings made from? Plants, onion powder, garlic powder, black pepper, ketchup. Isn't that weird? If humans were true meat eaters, they wouldn't have to make their meat taste like plants just to eat it. Now, ain't that weird? You have to season your meat. You have to make your meat taste like plants just to eat it. So think about that. Just circulate. Busting down this energetic breakfast, man. My people, I'm busting down some energetic Africans. This how we did it centuries ago, man. Millenniums ago. But I'm busting it down, you know what I'm saying? Gonna chop a little piece of that watermelon, you know what I'm talking about? I usually make a fruit smoothie or something sometime. You switch it up, a little variety. Yeah, that melon's sweet too. So I'm busting it down. Then I'm taking a bite of my little sandwich. Feel me? Got this sandwich going down. You know what I'm saying? It's that real deal. Number of veggies on it. Ain't no animal. No animal. That's what we're looking at. Jalapeno, lettuce, tomato, onion, mustard. That's breakfast. Simple breakfast. You get no washing dishes, no cooking. Then I can put all the rest of my time and energy in shooting these videos just to motivate you people to get healthy. So I got bananas, apples, oranges. Gonna bust it down. As they say in the county jail, bust it down, man. Like a spread, feel me? Except this spread here gonna be raw. No, just no potato chips and all that old crazy junk. Flavor. You're getting flavor and energy. Remember, when you eat your meat, you season it with plants. All that stuff made from plants. All these plants that we like. The beer, the alcohol, and the tobacco, all that's plants. Human beings love plants. Nothing else is made from meat but clothing or maybe whatever. I don't know. Maybe a few medicines. I'm not sure about that. Got to do a little more research on that too. There is no need to worry. Eating only raw plant foods will keep you alive. You don't have to, you know what I'm saying, worry about any animal products. How can humans live off eating plants alone and not having to eat any animal products? But you can't do the opposite. You can't live off animal foods without eating any plant foods. So that lets you know that the animal foods really isn't what's sustaining your life. You could abandon those foods and still live. Don't worry, eating only plant foods will keep you alive. It will keep you alive. You have no need to worry. Once people realize that plant-based foods alone can sustain their life, it should become easier for them to accept the plant-based diet. This rabbit food, as people sometimes call it, is all that us humans have to eat in order to stay alive. It's all that we have to eat to stay alive. We need nothing else. Plant foods will sustain, as I said. Once a person learns how to plan meals with a vegan diet, it will simplify their life. Waking up in the middle of the night won't require any cooking. All that one have to do is eat a banana or a few raw unsalted nuts and a graham cracker or just the banana, then go right back to sleep. That's all you have to do if you wake up in the middle of the night. You can eat a banana and go back to sleep. Simple, without waking up with acid reflux and all this here, grabbing this medication and that medication, you feel me? Eating doesn't get any simpler than eating a raw plant-based diet. Eating raw foods, it doesn't get any simpler than that. You simplify your life by eliminating the cooking and the washing dishes and all that extra stuff. You're complicating your life, man. Life doesn't have to be complicated. And this is just one example of making life less complicated. People must become aware of their options of eating so that it won't be as if they have been forced to eat a certain way, but it's actually making the decision with their own free will. You see what I'm saying? So once you become aware of your options, the options that you have, then you're making your own decision, choosing your own path. But if you've never been introduced to this lifestyle, how could you make what comparison can you make? What can you say, well, I want to choose this or that? Right now, people, they only know about this, so that's what they choose. But once you begin to know the raw plant-based diet, then you can choose that raw plant-based diet. And I guarantee you will choose it.
It's like meeting the devil or meeting God. Which one? Who you think you're gonna choose? So it is very important for people to actually experience the feelings associated with the plant-based diet so that they can decide to stick with it or abandon it. An individual can't miss what they've never known. No one can miss what they've never known. And I believe that a raw plant-based diet would be virtually impossible for a person to abandon once they have experienced that feeling that's associated with the diet firsthand. So I believe that once you experience the feelings that's associated with this diet, there's no way that you could possibly abandon this. So give it a try, man. Ladies and gentlemen, give it a try. It's worth it. It's very, very much worth it. All of the dysfunction that goes on in the black community could be prevented with the right nutrition. It's just as simple as that. We have been introduced to a lifestyle which is very destructive to us, and we know of no alternative, thinking that the events that occur in our lives are normal, and if it's not, the devil must have something to do with it, and God will take care of our problems. God has also given us the ability to solve problems. So before calling on to God for assistance, give your all against which is stealing your joy. First, you must recognize that you have a problem, then come up with the solution to that problem. Then apply the solution by whatever means that you can and is most convenient for you. Your strength lies in your ability to control yourself and not be your own worst enemy. No matter how bad things may seem, you are alive and have power. Control your energy and direct your energy towards that which will not only benefit you, but the entire human family. Be courageous, patient, and wise. The results won't manifest overnight. We all make mistakes. So keep up with the effort, and time will surely tell. In this war, your mind is your most effective weapon. But stay adaptable, because the struggle could easily shift to a physical one. Remember that you can't attack yourself and your enemies at the same time. You were taught wrong, and each time that you do something unbeneficial to yourself, it is actually the enemy who is doing that to you. Whether it be me putting a gun to my head or pulling the trigger, or tying a rope around my neck and hanging myself, both acts would be considered suicide. These two forms of suicide are relatively instantaneous deaths when compared to the deaths brought on about by drugs, alcohol, and food. So what is dying of natural causes? And if we can define that, is anyone dying from natural causes anymore? We all gotta die one day from some way. I prefer water moccasin over gunplay, car accidents, cell phones, and so-called foods. Brainwashed and black on black crime, to name a few. It's inevitable while we hear reality. There's much more to life than what we've been led to believe. Familiar territory starting to bore me, expand my expectations, a journey to the motherland. But I've been taught that I wouldn't be accepted if I don't make the psychological change. I will remain helpless. America is a dream. Let me wake you up into a new reality. You will never have to pay for pussy or anything for that matter. See, it's us versus them now. Lions and humans will again battle, and then there won't be a other man. Humans need to wake up, control the population, stay environmental friendly, divide and conquer people, thinking other people are their enemies. What's more important for us, to cut trees to make paper, or should we plant more to make future generations safer? Polluted waterways, ocean life is at stake. God made it perfect, man made irreversible mistakes. Let's give the earth a chance, help it heal, no need for hesitance. And then you wonder why hurricanes and earthquakes are so prevalent. In order to go forward, we must put it in reverse. There's nothing new under the sun. Meek shall inherit earth. Fear is the devil, so be courageous and accept the truth. Law of the jungle to all lions, all people are food. How could you not work for the devil when you're chasing money till you die?